After the miracle of the loaves and fish, the crowd was amazed. Thousands had eaten, and everyone had seen the power of Jesus. But Jesus knew it was time to leave that place, so he told his disciples to get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side of the sea. The disciples obeyed. They stepped into the wooden boat, raised the sail, and slowly moved away from the shore. Jesus stayed behind. He sent the crowd away with kindness until the voices of the people faded into the distance. When the crowd was gone, Jesus went up the mountain alone. There, far from the noise, he began to pray. The sun disappeared behind the hills. Night covered the sea, and the disciples were already far from land. At first, the journey seemed calm. The boat moved gently over the water. The disciples thought they would reach the other side safely. But then, the wind began to rise. The waves grew stronger, and the boat started to shake. The disciples grabbed the ropes. Some held the sail, others tried to row, but the wind was against them. Hour after hour, they struggled in the darkness. The boat moved slowly, and the sea became more dangerous. The waves crashed against the boat. Water splashed over the sides, and fear began to grow in their hearts. Far away on the mountain, Jesus saw them. He saw the boat fighting the wind. He saw their fear, and he knew their struggle. Then, in the middle of the night, Jesus began to move toward them. But he did not come in another boat. He came walking on the water. The waves rose beneath his feet. The wind blew around him, but Jesus kept walking, calm, steady, and unshaken. In the boat, the disciples looked into the darkness. They saw a figure moving across the sea, and terror filled them. They cried out in fear. They thought it was a ghost. Their eyes could see the figure, but their hearts could not understand the miracle. Immediately, Jesus spoke to them. His voice rose above the wind and the waves. "Take courage. It is I. Do not be afraid." When Peter heard the voice of Jesus, something changed inside him. Fear was still there, but faith began to rise. Peter looked at Jesus and said, "Lord, if it is you, tell me to come to you on the water." Jesus looked at Peter. The sea was moving, the wind was blowing. But Jesus answered with one simple word, "Come." Peter stepped to the edge of the boat. The other disciples watched in silence. Then Peter placed one foot on the water. For a moment, nothing happened. Then he placed his other foot down, and the impossible became real. Peter stood on the sea. Peter began to walk toward Jesus. Step by step, he moved over the water. His eyes were fixed on the Lord. The storm was still around him. The waves were still moving. The wind was still strong. But while Peter looked at Jesus, he did not sink. Then Peter noticed the wind. He saw the waves rising around him. He looked away from Jesus, and fear returned. Suddenly, his feet began to sink. The water rose around him, and Peter cried out, "Lord, save me!" Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand. He caught Peter before the sea could take him. Jesus said to him, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" Then Jesus and Peter walked back to the boat together. As soon as they entered the boat, the wind stopped. The sea became calm. The disciples worshiped Jesus and said, "Truly, you are the Son of God." That night, they learned a powerful lesson. When your eyes are on Jesus, faith can walk over fear. And even when you begin to sink, His hand is still strong enough to save you.